And so a majority of the drones that we're seeing coming out of Russia are like Shahed drones, which are made by Iran. And so it's like different types of drones. And you get your little tiny four rotor drones that are flying off. You'll see a lot of those that were like the video footage, the FPV drones. Those are,
Hmm.
a lot of them are kind of like war crime footage.
Hmm.
And then you'll see some of these long distance payload drones, flying up a little higher
Right.
altitude. Um, and the Patriot systems engaged quite a few of those Sakits. And there's quite a huge demand for missiles right now. I know that Lockheed, their missile systems are based out here in Fort Worth. So all the production for all those missiles that go straight out to Ukraine and stuff um, are done here.
Yeah. So how much? Because I know in the beginning of that conflict, we're talking about the tanks and how each war, as technology evolves, some things tend to become obsolete. If you see, like the First World War, they still had horses.
Yeah.
By the Second World War, they're no longer there. So you had the infantry, with the heavy machinery and the tanks. And I think some wars between Germany and some battles in Russia were fought and won or lost in the tank battles.
Oh yeah.
But fast forward to where we are right now with drones and the missile technology and anti tank, guns and weapons. How does that work? Nowadays.
I mean, basically, it's just been a testing grounds. It's like we develop a new system based off of what we see over there because like that's what war is going to look like now. It's not like a grandpa's war where it's trenchous warfare where they're sitting there shooting
Yeah.
at each other. You
Mhm.
could be in a trench and you just hear a drone whizzing over your head. What's the point of having a gun at that point unless it's a shotgun?
Yeah.
Um, it's it's really changed tank warfare because now all these tanks have to have anti-drone systems, or they need to have like some type of air burst system that can near peer defend itself from
Yeah.
a payload coming at it that rapidly fast, and it has
Yeah.
to sense that stuff.
Yeah.
Which you know the Bradley's been super successful. I don't know if you watched any of the Bradley tank fights, but it's been crazy. Like the Russian tanks can't even.
The Abrams or the Bradleys? The
The
Bradleys.
Bradleys have been super successful. The Abrams, um, I think they were used in the beginning, but the Bradley's been so successful that they've won more orders of the Bradley, because it's like the speed and the gun of which like the Bradley can move, and the fact that it can carry troops and it's a multi-role vehicle. It's just so much more successful than the Abrams have been out there, especially now that we're updating the Abrams to the new system. Like basically everything that we've seen out of Ukraine just shows how much we need to update our stuff.
Hmm. Okay, so when we look at the sky, for a common person, you see, you know, if it's at night, the stars. You see, the moon. You see in the day, you see the colors, the clouds, the birds flying. What it is the perspective for somebody who operates Patriot missiles, and you're looking at a radar, and what are the things that you see? And you also said that yours operated like 2D, but you also have thermal. You can actually detect when countries are fueling missiles 2 hours before they decide to launch. So there's an early warning kind of capability just by that power to observe. I'd like to elaborate on what kind of how far are we on technology in regards to detecting things before they become an issue.
Well, I mean, with North Korea specifically, we can see when they're fueling. Like a lot of their missiles are like nitrogen fuel mixes, so we can see thermally from outer space. Like, hey, they're filling up this missile. They're about to fire off something at Japan, and so we'll get our systems up and ready to, all our missiles heated, ready to fire, just in case they make a mistake. That's the only margin of error is what we think about with them. It only takes a little margin of error for them to hit someone's building. Maybe not actually hit Japan. Maybe they,
Yeah,
they fire at South Korea.
yeah, because I've seen on occasion they fire those missiles to just fall in the water to hit the ocean like a warning
They
shot.
fire
You
over
said,
Japan sometimes.
yeah, they fly over as well,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That's what you'll see. They'll get texts on their phones that say like shelter in place, alert, 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 missile inbound. And they have Patriot system too over there in
Mhm.
Japan. And not only is it just us, the Japanese forces and the Korean forces have their own Patriot systems.
Mhm.
So we're all watching it at the same time, and we determine from that, like where it's going to land. So we know where it's going to hit in the ocean. So it kind of aggravated me sometimes because I'd be sitting there watching it and I'd be like, hey, can we just shoot this down? Just to be like, hey, like, but no, we're always told no because it's cost too much money or it's like, it's not worth it.
Yeah.
But I thought it would be a cool show of force.
Yeah. So you talk about North Korea. Are they still, I assume, in an armistice, right?
Yeah, they're still in an
technically-
armistice, but they still test their weapons. They're nuclear active. They do have nuclear capability. They don't have the
You're
capability.
talking about North Korea.
Yes.
Okay.
They do not have the capability to hit the United States yet, but they are working very, very hard on it. Their GDP is primarily focused in defense structuring. So that's why you see so many other people starving and suffering. It's because they put all their money into their defense systems and attacking.
Yeah. So how equipped is South Korea to deal with North Korea if there ever came to a conflagration?
I mean, South Korea's technology is so advanced, but that's where you see the differences. Is like everybody talks about how long a war would be, but like a war between North and South Korea is determined within an hour or 2 hours. Because of the scale and capabilities of North Korea, they have the largest artillery group ever. Like there's no one in the world comes close to how much artillery they have. So the dummy artillery that they have, it would be hard for us to stop. And that's where the A-10 really came into play in that war. Is that we would use the A-10 system to level out most of the artillery, and I imagine we would use a lot of field artillery of our own to take out theirs. But with the newer generation A-10, which we don't know the specifications on and when it's going to be fielded, it'll make a huge difference. The air superiority will be a key result, but the problem is like determining how long Seoul will last. And if they did fire missiles, we would be able to take them down. It's just like determining which missiles are carrying what payload, and how many missiles they're going to fire at the same time of firing all this artillery. So it's like it's mutually self-assured destruction, but one comes out the victor. And that's when the sad part of it, the real reality of it is it's asset defense at that point. It's no longer, I remember my first day in Korea, it's kind of like a harrowing thing. You look at this when I arrived on Osan Air Base, it's written on the wall. It says, we are responsible for 32 million lives, because it's a small place, but it's super dense population. And so that's something we had to sit there and think about every day. We used to talk about like, hey, you got to fly your family out if your family is there with you. Cause I was there twice. The second time I brought my family, but, we would always talk about like the scenarios of like, if we're here, we're here. That's it. We're going to die here.
Yeah.
And we're going to run on our missiles. Cause it takes like 30 minutes, 45 minutes to an hour, depending on how stressed the tangos are to reload our missiles. So like once we're out, and if 2-1 didn't make it all the way up in time, which, think about the amount of traffic that would occur in a scenario. Like if New York was getting hit with artillery, think about how the roads would look. It's just logistically impossible. So that's where the air-to-air superiority comes in. It's just how long would it take for us to declare superiority? We win that fight. It's just how much would we lose in that fight?